Hello, San Angelo. Christian Knowlton has been moved from San Angelo to Fredericksburg, and a DPS released information on the fatal crash out near Wall.
Also, the San Angelo police have said not to leave your pets inside your vehicles, and we were at the San Angelo Rodeo all weekend, where we had some amazing rides.
I'm James Bouligny.
And I'm Tessa Koskovich.
Before the news, Dr. Kenneth Carrell, who runs Angelo State's Planetarium, is in studio right after these messages from Jim Bass and Carpet Tech.
My name is Cade Simmons. I'm the site manager here in San Angelo. What matters to our customers, I believe, is what we say is CT quality, CT experience, just making sure their needs are met, taking care of their home like it was ours. You just have to keep thinking of, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. So just making sure you're taking care of what needs to be taken care of, and just knowing that they can rely on us, I think, matters to them a lot.
Save big on new and used cars and trucks at BassBunch.com.
When anyone needs a new car or truck, where do they go?
That's easy, BassBunch.com.
What? It's BassBunch.com.
Everybody knows BassBunch.com.
BassBunch.com. Did I hear right?
There is only one place, BassBunch.com.
If you want to save a bunch of money, the only place to shop is BassBunch.com.
Welcome back, everybody. James Bouligny here with Dr. Kent Carrell. He runs the Planetarium at ASU. The Planetarium is one of the, I think, the coolest things about Angelo State.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great outreach thing and engages lots of people in the community. We're always happy to have people, young and old, come see shows.
How you doing, man?
Good. Yeah, doing good. The spring's busy. We got a lot of school groups coming in. There's standardized testing is about to start, and so we have a lot more school groups coming in April specifically, so never a dull moment.
Right. Well, you have a couple shows coming up after Easter.
Yep.
We got one about great whites, that's cool.
Yep.
If you're shooting that up on Planetarium, it's like you're under the water.
Yeah.
What is it about specifically?
So it's about the species, but also about conservation efforts and why animals like the great white shark are important, and how there's a lot of misconceptions about that animal and how dangerous they may or may not be.
Thanks, Jaws. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it talks about Jaws specifically, and so it's easy to use something like that to scare the public, but they're an integral part of the ocean ecosystems, and so it talks about that and how those ideas have changed over time. But yeah, you're right. The underwater stuff is really immersive, and so it's a really cool experience to see this show.
And then we have another one about the T-Rex.
Yeah.
So if you're a Jurassic Park fan,
that's right.
Go to the Planetarium and they'll have a show.
A lot of great dinosaur stuff, and that one is more about how younger people can really be involved in science and discoveries. So it talks about these three young men that are around 8 or 10 years old, and they were just walking around in one of these formations sort of in the northern plains and discover this fossil. And so there's a paleontologist that helps them start to uncover it, and then they find that there's a T-Rex there with it too. And so, it talks about the T-Rex and how our thoughts have changed over time, kind of like, the great white shark. It's sort of morphed from this monster to maybe this more, something slightly less scary, I suppose.
I mean, you have if you're going Jurassic Park, the big lizard that roars, and now they've got feathers. And your perception of them changes.
A much different animal now than we knew about back then. So it's really great, and especially for young people, it's a really cool show for them to see.
All right, well, speaking of things that are extinct and fossils, they just resurrected 2 dire wolves.
Yeah, I saw that.
So Game of Thrones fans are probably chomping at the bit.
That's right. Yeah.
But how would you go about bringing something back that's been extinct for 10,000 years?
Yeah, so it's, they have, from fossils and other things, we can get bits and pieces of DNA, but usually it's not the full sequence. And, we don't recover eggs that we can then incubate and hatch. And so, creating the animal itself is tough. You have to, manipulate other animals and inject some DNA, and so it's a really difficult process, but it's a really exciting time. I mean, being able to bring back an animal that was dead is both exciting and terrifying, I think.
It's terrifying because defense departments around the world are drooling at
Yeah.
Like, let's bring back velociraptors,
Yeah.
put machine guns on them, send them into war zones.
Yeah, Jurassic Park may be real
That's a
in our
scary
lifetimes.
thing to think of, because there's plenty of movies out there why that's a terrible idea.
That's right.
And while the newer ones may have not hit the same way, they're selling them to billionaires, and they're selling them to governments, and the government's involved.
Yeah.
That might be a big reason why it's a bad thing, because usually when government gets involved, it's not the best.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who wouldn't want a baby T-Rex to carry with you like a dog, right?
If
Have
it's,
a pet T-Rex,
if it's a
it'd be kinda
Chihuahua
cool.
size, it'd be all right.
Yeah.
But
So maybe the like vanity pets.
I don't know. I've had problems with little dogs. I've much better luck with big dogs.
Yeah.
But I guess also speaking about things that I don't think we should be messing with. Europa is a moon of Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to Europa.
Yep.
Why are we going to Europa?
Yeah, Europa is a very interesting place. One of the most likely places for us to find life in our solar system outside the Earth.
All right.
There's other places in our solar system that have liquid water, and Europa is one of them. And we're pretty sure now that Europa actually has more liquid water than the Earth does, which is kind of remarkable to think about. And so, the fact that Europa's got this frozen ice crust with this ocean underneath is already very interesting. But if you've got water underneath, then that means there's got to be a heat source underneath that's melting that water. And we've got examples like that here on the Earth. So on the ocean floor, we've got hydrothermal vents where heat is coming up and heating the water and supplying lots of different chemicals. And we have entire ecosystems on the ocean floor that don't get any sunlight. And so for a long time, we thought life had to have sunlight, right? You've got to have a producer like grass or trees or other things to start that food chain. But now then we know that can be different. That can be these hydrothermal vents. And so Europa could potentially have something very similar. Places where they're, on that ocean floor, if you want to call it that, would have cracks, and heat would be coming out, and chemicals would be coming out from the interior. And so it's entirely possible that entire ecosystems are on Europa and we don't even know it.
Right. But I don't think we're looking for the tall gray guys. I think we're looking for bacteria and things like that, just to say, okay, there is some form of life outside of Earth, which, we were talking about earlier. Does that still make the Earth special?
Yeah, so, right now we only know of life here. That's the only place we've ever found life.
So we've been sending out signals and we haven't been getting anything back.
We've been screaming into the universe and we've been listening as hard as we can, and no evidence of life anywhere. But, if we do find life somewhere else, you're right, that fundamentally changes how we understand us as beings, right? Our place, our time in the universe. So, yeah, it would be the most significant discovery in our lifetimes for sure, and maybe for generations to come.
Is that just a feather in some scientist's hat, or do you feel like probably?
No, I think that would be a major breakthrough. That's paradigm shifting, right? That really changes how we understand our universe.
Does the government put more money into NASA at that point to say maybe there is some potential life out there?
Yeah.
Does Elon Musk get excited and want to put more money into going to space and going to Mars?
For sure, right? Because there's lots of opportunities and dangers there as well. So you would want to make sure that we're protected, but you want to find out more about it. And so, lots of people would be interested in this for lots of different reasons.
You talked about it when Europeans came to Americas. We brought over all kinds of diseases. It was almost like alien meeting alien almost.
Yeah, it was.
And we
that ended
killed
very
a lot.
poorly for one of those groups.
So it could end poorly for us.
Yeah.
Or it could, like you said, their cold could kill us, or they could cure cancer.
That's right.
And at that point, pharmaceutical companies step in and say, no, we can't do this.
Pharmaceutical companies would move to Europa, maybe.
Probably.
I don't know.
But speak about the Earth. They're going to Mars. What do you think is that in our lifetime, or do you feel like going to the moon is more feasible?
Yeah, I think the moon is the right next step. I think, it's been over 50 years since any of the Apollo astronauts set foot on the moon. And so all of that knowledge is mainly gone. The people that experienced it, the people that planned and executed all of that stuff, we don't have that knowledge anymore. And so to take the step from just going to our moon, which is only about 250,000 miles away, 250,000 miles away, to now going to Mars.
It takes like 6 months, right?
Months, yeah, not days like the moon, but months going there and months coming back. It's just logistically and technologically, it's way more difficult. And so, being able to go back to the moon and maybe even set up a station so that we can use that as a stepping stone to get to Mars, that makes a lot more sense. It would be sustainable that way. We could go to Mars as a one-off thing. Those people, my guess is, aren't coming back. The first person to walk on Mars is probably going to be the first one to die on Mars. And so, if we want to do it in a sustainable way, in a safe way, and, a long-term presence, then the moon makes a lot of sense.
Right. I mean, I think because gravity's different, air pressure's probably much different, if there even is.
Yeah, I mean, the astronauts just recently, right, stayed in the space station way too long.
They've got bone density issues. And
that's right. So, yeah, there's all kinds of health issues in space that we've got to figure out if we want to do missions like this on a regular basis.
And how do we do that?
I don't know. Send more people to space. I mean, if there's a sign-up sheet somewhere, let me know.
All right. I think there's some billionaire probably trying to just take people to space and bring them back real quick.
Hopefully they see this video.
Maybe. Dr. Carrell would like to go.
Yeah.
But, man, I guess I wanted to talk about just a couple movies. I want to talk about Interstellar.
Mm-hmm.
They really worked with Kip Thorne on the black hole in that movie. Yep. Christopher Nolan is the director, is real big on accuracy. How accurate was the black hole Gargantua in that movie?
Yeah, so the image of the black hole was actually very close to being realistic. In other movies, they sometimes you see a disk of material around it, but in the movie, it had a disk, but it also had a disk sort of around, and that's more like what it would look like. The black hole, the gravity around the black hole is so extreme that you see things behind it, and so that disk would be warped in shape. The only real difference is that the material around it would be traveling extremely fast, and so the material coming at you and moving away from you is going at relativistic speeds, and so the side coming towards you would be significantly brighter than the side going away. Right. But that's the only real major difference with the way that it looked. The time slowing down and all of that part, I never listened close enough and did the math to know if that was correct in terms of how much time they lost.
It was cool in the movie.
It was very cool, and I assume that they did those calculations.
I also don't like that you can spend an hour on Earth is 7 years on another planet. I don't like that.
It's tough, but you know what?
I personally don't like that.
That's still true. That's true here. So for
Isn't
GPS
it like
to
the
work,
twin theory or something like that?
Yeah, so there were twin astronauts. One went to space and one didn't. But we've sent clocks that we've synchronized and sent to space in orbit and come back, and they're different. And if we don't take into account differences like that, even though they're very small around the Earth, then GPS doesn't work. We got to have relativity. We have to have those corrections from relativity for GPS to be accurate.
I don't like that. I reject your reality, bro. I don't like that.
It's not as extreme around here.
Right.
It's very minor around here.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's tough, right? Like, how does your time tick differently? How does your clock run slower?
Well, say we go to Mars or the moon, does time move differently?
Very slowly. It would be a very small difference. But yeah, the astronauts, they're aging slightly differently than we are on the Earth.
All right.
So.
Well, and The Martian, they went to Mars. I mean, The Martian, Matt Damon movie.
Yeah.
It was a Ridley Scott movie. They went to Mars. Storm hits. He gets left on Mars. They come back.
Yeah.
They all find out he's still alive, and they kind of use their space station to slingshot around the Earth.
Yeah.
Have we ever attempted something like that? Is that possible to do?
I guess theoretically it's possible. It's extremely dangerous. And, in the movie, when he launches up, all the windows are gone, too.
Right.
And so you're sort of at the mercy. There's not an atmosphere really on Mars, so that wouldn't bother you. But just, being pushed into space with basically no protection is very dangerous. So I would hope that NASA would not do that. It works in the movie, but there are lots of chances for that to fail in real life. So.
And you got to fly around like Iron Man for a little bit. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Are we getting close to Iron Man suits, you think?
I don't know. That's like flying cars and some of these other things. They're always 10 or 20 years in the future. And
people
not holding my breath.
People 50 years ago thought we'd have flying cars now. We had kids eating Tide Pods 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, Jetsons, right? I mean, that was the thing. That was a dream, right?
Right.
So, yeah, we're not flying. We don't have robot maids. Kind of, but not like in the show.
Right.
No flying cars, so hopefully someday someone will figure that out.
No, but something you did bring up before the show is instead of going to Mars, go to Venus, and we could build a cloud city for all you Star Wars fans out there. Are we potentially working towards anything like that could float and
so NASA
life?
had some programs that were going to do that. I don't know what the status of those are. But yeah, NASA designed some craft that would fly to Venus and basically inflate like a blimp and sort of move around in the atmosphere in that place that would be just right. So yeah, there's a place in the atmosphere of Venus where the temperatures would be comfortable. The gravity would be the same as the Earth, basically. It's the same size as the Earth. So if you had some solid surface to stand on in the atmosphere, like a cloud city, it would be just like on the Earth. You need... so the atmosphere is still very dangerous. It's got lots of sulfur compounds and stuff. So you need a mask, but that's it. You wouldn't need a spacesuit like you need on Mars. You could walk around with just a breathing mask on and you'd be fine.
That's super cool, man.
It would be
and then Lando would come take over.
That's right, yeah.
Darth Vader would show up.
Yeah.
Are lightsabers possible?
That's tough.
I'd love to have one. But...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen any realistic designs for that. Light weapons potentially, but lightsaber's tough. I don't know how you contain that thing into a sword.
Yeah, same kind of. It seemed tough stopping light.
Yeah.
And also, it's light. There's no weight to it, so you're still just swinging around the hilt.
Yeah, it would take a lot of practice to become a Jedi Knight, I think.
Well, there are some dedicated out there that would do it.
That's true. Yeah.
Star Wars fanatics out there.
Yeah.
Well, man, I've enjoyed talking with you. Thank you for coming on again.
Appreciate you.
I was chomping at the bit to talk to you again. Yeah. I think space is obviously a really cool thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And it can also cause existential dread.
That's right. Don't let it keep you up at night.
So, yeah, what do you, like, the sun's going to explode. How do you tell a 5-year-old that and say, you don't?
Nah, I think, you leave that for later.
All right.
When they're more emotionally mature to handle that, maybe.
All right. Well, Dr. Carrell, thank you for coming on today, man. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Back to you guys. Also, over the weekend, we had just gotten back from the rodeo, and the police scanners went off, and you probably received a Nix alert about a major crash east of San Angelo near Wall. According to the Department of Public Safety, on Friday at about 10 o'clock, a DPS trooper saw a 2022 white Dodge Challenger racing another vehicle southbound on US 87 South. The trooper attempted to stop the Challenger, then the driver turned off all the lights in the vehicle and fled at speeds that exceeded 110 miles an hour. The driver lost control of the vehicle near the Wildy Road intersection out there close to Wall. They hit a guardrail, went airborne, and rolled several times before coming to a stop in the median. Both north and southbound lanes of 87 were shut down while first responders worked the crash. All 3 occupants in the vehicle were ejected, and the passengers, 18-year-old Jesus Manuel Silva and 20-year-old Matthew Allen Reyes, were pronounced dead at the scene. The driver, 19-year-old Jaden Zane Sanchez Ayala, was seriously injured and transported to Shannon Medical Center. That was pretty crazy, because they were saying things that I'd never heard over the radio about DOA. We have to triage at the scene.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and then when we received those videos, because we didn't send anybody out there. We had to, first off, they shut down the road.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be bad.
Yeah,
both lanes, both ways.
Right, and somebody sent us these videos, and it was just,
it was intense.
You had no idea what that vehicle was.
No, it looked like you were trying to crush a can to get more money for it.
Exactly, and I can't believe people in our comment section is sitting there saying, well, why didn't the police just stop?
Yeah, you don't sit there and try to defend someone who's running from the police. Chasing a car like that's not the problem. They could have been going 110, 115 and hit a deer and went airborne and rolled.
Or it was right after the rodeo. They could have hit another vehicle of just a family trying to make it home.
Yeah, it's not the cop's fault for doing his job. It's the teenager's fault, unfortunately, for not thinking things all the way through.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's saying it's not a tragic thing. But
it is definitely very tragic, but
at the same time, just pull over, man.
Let's not blame police officers for doing their job.
Right. And I guess the one is still in the hospital. He will probably be going to jail shortly, and I guess when we get that, we'll update y'all on that.
Speaking of jail, Christian Knowlton was transported from Fredericksburg to San Angelo on Friday. Knowlton is being held on a $2.5 million bond for beating his grandmother nearly to death, stealing her car, and fleeing to Fredericksburg. The victim was transported to another hospital for a higher level of care, and we do not have an update on her at this on her condition at this moment. Excuse me.
No, we don't. And I actually called the Fredericksburg PD. They called me back, and he was really cool about letting me know, hey, we're transporting him today, and things he was hearing it doesn't look good.
Yeah, so. I don't believe that they are sure she's stable.
I have no idea. From what I understood, her face was fractured, and it was
and at 81
really
years
terrible.
old, that's hard to come back from.
Even by some miracle, if she does, I don't think she would.
Life would be very different for her.
Right. But anyway, it's official. Spring is here for at least a week, and with summer approaching, the San Angelo Police Department has reminded San Angelo residents not to leave your pets inside your vehicle with increasing temperatures. It's probably a good idea not to leave your kids in the car either. In a very short period of time, temps can increase significantly. Don't leave your pets or your children inside the car. 110-degree days are coming up.
And that can be 130 degrees inside the car. I don't know if y'all saw a couple years ago on Facebook, someone cooked cookies on a baking sheet on their dashboard. Don't leave living creatures in the car.
No, if you have to run the store, it's probably just best to leave your pets at home. Mm-hmm. And take your kids inside.
Take your kids with you. That's not safe anyways. People can break windows and bring your kids with you.
Yeah.
We were at the 2025 San Angelo Rodeo all weekend, and we are completely exhausted, but we had some solid rides, especially in the mutton busting. On Saturday, Little Sienna Orlando set the arena record with a 99 3/4 ride, and then during Extreme Bulls, Camden Steele must have taken it personally because he reset the record with a 99 7/8. I believe that's a 99.875.
No, it doesn't get much better than that.
No, I don't think we're going to get
He saw the 99.75 and was like, I'm going to go ahead and beat that.
He was like, yeah, I know. This is my time to shine.
Yeah, great mutton busting over the weekend.
Yeah, they killed it.
And then Extreme Bulls was just as good. We had a 90.5-point ride from Mason Moody. And then T. Parker jumped back on a bull.
Yeah, he got thrown through the slits of the chute.
Wow. You were down there with that.
I was down there. He was not happy. I got covered in dirt. That bull was not happy. The first time he went to get on the bull, he was third or fourth in line to ride, I believe. And the bull bucked while he was in the chute, threw him through the chute slots, and he got back on, and then eventually ended up going last and stayed on. And he took it personal, but it seemed to work for him.
No, and the first time when you interviewed him, he said he was like 8 for 8 at one point, and I was like, that seems kind of
8 for 8.
That seems kind of high. And then he went out there, he's 2 for 2 at the San Angelo Rodeo. So you know what? All right,
the kid knows what he's doing. I'll give it to him.
No, I mean he's a badass. So
yeah,
I'll give it to him. And when we come back, we'll have weather right after this message from Jay Chandler.
It's hard to believe how reckless some people can be and how hard they fight against real victims. You need a partner who consistently beats the giants and who will never, ever flinch.
Now into weather. Like the SAPD said, temperatures are increasing and it looks to jump up into the 90s this week. Right now it's 85 degrees outside with a high of 89, and tonight the low will be 57. Clouds are supposed to roll in.
Tomorrow the clouds clear out, the high will be 77, and the winds pick up with gusts up to 25 miles per hour. Tuesday night the lows will be around 55 and conditions will be partly cloudy. Those clouds give away to a sunny Wednesday with a high around 85 before a mostly clear night around 60 degrees.
Then Thursday the high ticks up just a little bit more to 91 and expect the breeze to stick around. Thursday night the low should be down around 65. Friday the high gets right back up to 90, and right now, subject to change, especially in San Angelo, there's a 50% chance of rain Friday night.
We're seeing the weather go up and down quite a bit, and those dang wind advisories.
I know, that's what I was about to say. I just love the wind at this point, I guess. We'll be right back after a quick word from Conno's Diamonds and Coins.
When it comes to unique pieces you can't find anywhere else, Conno's Diamonds and Coins is your one-stop shop. With over 24 years in the diamond and coin industry, Kano's Diamonds and Coins is West Texas's choice for diamonds, jewelry, coins, silver, and gold. Owner Bill Kano stands by his work and offers free consultations, including estate jewelry. Don't just trust anyone with your valuables. Come see the staff at Kano's at 1016 West Beauregard in San Angelo.
Thank you for watching the Live Daily News Show,
the only locally owned news show in the Contra Valley.
Go like us on Facebook, X, and other social media platforms.
And download the San Angelo Life mobile app.
For the live team here, I'm James Bouligny.
And I'm Tessa Koskovich.
And we'll see you tomorrow.